We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Tired from an insurrection you incited against your government? Is your state suffering from predictable consequences of a natural disaster caused by your failed leadership? Then it's time for you to throw your constituents and Constitution away and escape to Cancun. Constituents underwater? You can be too on one of our reef and shipwreck snorkeling tours. Feeling homesick? Visit the Mayan ruins. No electricity, undrinkable water. It's like you never left Houston. So hurry up. Flee in glee and bask in the glow of red-hot sedition in Cancun.
It's Friday, you bastards. Oh, I hope you have electricity. I really do. If you are in Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Wichita Falls, Odessa, Midland, just anywhere. I know El Paso's okay. I know El Paso is. That's because El Paso has its own grid that they bothered to winterize. Yes, winterization. It's the word for the day, everybody. Winterization. You could put an extra syllable in there if you are a New Yorker to make it winterization. You know, like that. But, wow, now there's water shortages and now there are food shortages. But you know what the beauty is? You know what the beauty here is? Here we were all looking for unity, right? Unity. We must unite. And I did not know how would we unite with an insurrectionist like Ted Cruz, for instance, or even a Lindsey Graham. I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. Every time I'm out, they just pull me back in. Lindsey Graham. And now we know. Now we know. In a time of hyperpartisanship, we, people of all persuasions, can unite in our hatred for Ted Cruz. Oh! There you go. Unity. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah. You know what the best part of this Ted Cruz story is? I hope you heard this part. Hardly anybody is reporting it, but it's in the New York Times article that clearly shows you what was going on in Ted Cruz's homestead. You know, if we're going to talk frontier language. In his homestead there in Houston. They were gathered around the fireplace. It was cold. It was uncomfortable. Heidi was having a moment. And she decided to have a group text moment. Now, I don't know who does this. Perhaps you do. I do not. And I come from New York, where we do have things like block parties with our neighbors. We are rather neighborly. I know nobody thinks of us this way, but it's untrue. It's part of your stereotyping of girls like me, and I resent it. No. We have block parties. We're close with our neighbors. You know, the neighbor kids all play together, and growing up in New York, it's a community thing. But I never heard of this. Have you ever group texted your neighbors to ask them to go on vacation with you? Ew. I never have heard of such a thing. However, apparently Heidi Cruz, Mrs. Cruz, was group texting the neighbors, telling them that they got a great rate at the Ritz-Carlton Cancun, $309 a night, plus great security, right? And the cops will give you an escort to the airport with me and Ted and the kids, as if the cops in Houston had nothing better to do in the midst of this massive rolling blackout, in the midst of people living without electricity for like 80 hours, no water, Berlin things. Berlin, they were literally setting fire to their children's building blocks to keep warm. So the cops had nothing better to do. No, nothing. Anyway, the beauty part of the story is this here part. You know how Ted Cruz got caught fleeing to Cancun for warmth and vacay? Somebody in the group text gave the text messages to the New York Times. Oh, he was dimed. He was dimed by his own damn friends. God, I love that part of the story. That is my favorite thing. Apparently, it's true. It's true. Everybody hates Ted Cruz. So when we're looking to unify, when we're looking for something to unite around, it doesn't have to be pallets from the supermarket burning in your fireplace or on your grill. No, it could be Ted Cruz. And at this point, he is so disgusting that he literally blamed, because that is what Republicans do. They're never accountable for their own decisions. Oh, no, that whole thing about self-reliance and responsibility and accountability, that's for you. That's for you. That's not for them. That's not for them. They blamed, well, you know, Governor Abbott and Rick Perry and the Lieutenant Governor Dan, who was willing to die for the stock market in the COVID pandemic. Really, he said that he was, you know, he felt lifted when he realized that he was willing to die so the stock market wouldn't tank in the midst of the spring eruption of COVID. Oh, I love these people. Anyway, Lieutenant Dan blamed it on green energy, and Rick Perry blamed it on green. I'm going to explain to you exactly what they're doing, just with real names and dollar amounts today, so you can see exactly who owns your future and who has got your future like a dog with a bone and won't let go of the past. And this is the future that they want, okay, for us. But anyway, so they invited their friends. Their friends actually were so incensed at their insensitivity that they gave the text messages to the New York Times, and Ted Cruz needed to blame something or somebody. And so he blamed his 10-year-old and his 12-year-old, saying that they wanted to go on vacation. They were the ones that wanted to go to Cancun. He's literally blaming preteens because they wanted to go on vacation. That's the twisted part of Ted Cruz's BS, is that everything and everybody is to blame for his decision as head of the household, you know. I'm sure his preteens want a unicorn that farts sparkles too. Learn to say no, Ted. Learn to show them that you have a responsibility as an elected official who has been given the public trust to be a leader. Show them leadership. No, instead, and you know what else? They have a dog, a little poodle named Snowflake. And they left Snowflake all alone in the freezing house when they went to Cancun under police escort while Heidi Cruz's friends dropped a dime on them with the New York Times. Oh, such a good story. But, you know, there's a reason that Lindsey Graham once said that if you, I don't even want to say this, but Lindsey Graham, I'm quoting, this is not me, this is Lindsey Graham. He said that if Ted Cruz was killed in the Senate on the Senate floor and there was a trial in the Senate, no one would be convicted. No one. Apparently, everyone hates Ted. I almost feel sorry for him. The only friend he's got left in the world seems to be Don Jr., who was coked out of his mind last night. Did you have, I mean, I don't, this story finally got printed this morning. It's making the rounds this morning, but I saw it last night. He was on Twitter and aimed a camera at his freaky face. He was obviously lit on something. I don't know. I mean, Ted Cruz, Mexico, did he smuggle drugs on his way back too and give them to Don Jr. so Don Jr. could snort up, shoot up, toke up, whatever he's doing with the Mexican and get on Twitter and defend Ted Cruz? Because I'm telling you, this kid ain't right. There's something wrong with him. Oh, and by the way, the CDC discourages willy-nilly travel for no, real reason in the middle of the pandemic. And Ted Cruz's girls go to a private school that have a requirement that if you do international travel, you have to be tested and isolate while you're waiting for your test. So they wouldn't be in school next week either. What is wrong with these privileged freaks?
Clear.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Look at this twit. Okay, look at him.
News going out there right now. They're trying to, cancel him. He took a family vacation. Now, obviously, we understand sometimes, the optics of that right now isn't ideal. But in the grand scheme of things, he's a senator. He doesn't manage crises in states. That's a governor's job. He's a federal employee. They mostly vote on things. So, I'm not going to jump on this bandwagon of trying to cancel the guy for taking his kids on a vacation. Again, maybe it's not the ideal time. Quite certainly it's not. But, give me a break. That they're spending more time focusing on this than they are, governors just flagrantly disregarding their executive orders, shutting down states, etc., shows you how ridiculous things are.
You're so high. It's unfreaking believable. I don't know what Ted brought back from Mexico, but whatever it is, pass it around, bring enough for the whole class. He's wasted. I mean, this is just, it's like Lindsey Graham when he was on the floor. I'm out. I'm so sorry that it ended this way, but I'm out. Oh, I'm back in? Okay, I sobered up. What is with these people? I mean, and then when he tweeted it, he said the Democratic governor of Texas was to blame. The Democratic governor of Texas. There is no Democratic governor of Texas. He's a federal employee, and all he does is vote on things. That's all senators do, everybody. They just vote on things. They're not there for constituent services. He's not supposed to, help he's not supposed to liaise with the federal government to get bottled water to you. He's not supposed to liaise with the federal government to get emergency relief or money into the community. No, he's just there as a federal employee to vote on things, according to Don Jr.'s understanding of the Article 1 powers of Congress. Wow. And if you asked, Junior there, what are the Article 1 powers? It would be there would be nobody home. Listen, if there's anything that we have learned from all of this is that it's cathartic and fun to hate Ted Cruz now that Donald Trump and his prodigy are, gone, except for the occasional Rumble post or a tweet from the twit. So good. So good. So here's what we're learning. The Texas grid was seconds and minutes away from a total meltdown, or Puerto Rico. This is amazing because Donald Trump, when he was president and threw paper towels at the people of Puerto Rico, said that he had, it was a heavy lift because Puerto Rico was already broken. That's because they were hit by a hurricane before Maria, which everybody likes to forget. That was a double-barreled shotgun pointed straight at Puerto Rico. But, they were already broken. Well, so is Texas. Obviously, Texas is in bad shape when it comes to distributing electricity, when it comes to water and distribution. The reservoirs are empty in Texas because the reservoirs froze, the pipes burst, and the leakage. I wonder if Ted has leakage. I wonder if he had leakage at his house. Yeah. And so the reservoirs are dry, okay? I mean, the whole thing, it's a cascading, chaotic thing because they refuse to winterize. They just refuse to do it. Why? Because they're not incentivized to do anything for the people, and there are people who are literally making money off of the scarcity of water and electricity right now. We all know this. Anybody who's ever been through a disaster, you know this. But now there are places called Griddy where people pay for their electricity, from wholesale marketplaces. And the cost of electricity has gone from $1 to $9,000 an hour. I mean, I'm serious. It's so twisted what's going on. Julian Castro was trying to explain this to ordinary Americans last night.
Greg Abbott went on Fox News. He's trying to blame AOC and the Green New Deal, which is not even in place right now. Oh. But the important point here is that this is not a breakdown in the system. This is a system that is broken down by design. By design. A system that did not require the winterization of either the thermal production facilities or any other type of energy production facilities, did not incentivize it either. And a system that is allowing outrageous price gouging, price spikes, just to give you a sense, that went from $30 per megawatt hour to $9,000 per megawatt hour at the very time when Texans need it the most. And there was reporting out today quoting one of the natural gas producers that said that this experience had been like hitting the jackpot. Huh. I mean, these are the folks who are being rewarded. You know, this is a tale as old as time of greed and of cronyism that has led to the breakdown that we're seeing today.
Yes, that's true. And who is the leader of the oil and gas and petroleum industries that band together to break wind? Right. Koch brothers. Exactly. And where are the Koch brothers based? Wichita, Kansas. And who was their congressman that they relied on to keep green energy at a minimum by not incentivizing the production of turbines or giving tax credits to anybody that would want to get us away from fossil fuels? Yes, it was the Koch brothers. And the congressman who came on the scene who was willing to carry their load, yes, while they went to break wind, is Mike Pompeo. Yes, that Mike Pompeo. I went back 7 years, and I remembered 7 years ago reading about tax credits for green energy and how they were being crushed by the Tea Party people, by Americans for Prosperity, by, all of the Koch brothers organizations. And they had so many of them. You know, you had Dick Armey. Yes, everything today is a double entendre because that is how bizarre they are. Okay, so you had the Koch-funded Americans for Prosperity, and they, 7 years ago, sent a letter to every single member of Congress through Mike Pompeo, who's from Kansas. He's a Republican from Kansas before he was our Secretary of State. And Pompeo was able to get 52 signatures from 52 Republicans in the House of Representatives and sent it to the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, who is responsible for taxation and incentivizing things through the tax code, you know, like by giving tax credits. And the Koch network was fighting the wind industry so hard, literally trying to break wind. And Pompeo was their dude. And it's because, and you know, you would think Kansas has the second highest wind potential in the country. So I just want to point this out to you so you know, even though a district might benefit from a policy that favored wind because they have a lot of it, you can always buy somebody in Congress to go against the people.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844.
So you remember Ted Cruz ran against Beto O'Rourke, right? Right. And you know, that was really, really stinking close. It was like 50-49. Can you imagine how things might be different? Might be just a tad, just a touch different if Beto would have prevailed.
The Texas governor, Greg Abbott, is now defending his comments, blaming the state's power issues on frozen wind turbines and the Green New Deal. He's saying his point that it was if Texas relied solely upon green energy, it would be a challenge, which is not the situation there at all right now. Does that make sense to you?
No. There's been complete Republican control of the state of Texas for 20 years. And so, for example, the Public Utility Commission, which oversees and regulates the electric utilities that we're talking about right now, he makes the appointments onto that commission. The Railroad Commission, which regulates actually not railroads, but the oil and gas industry in Texas, there are 3 statewide elected commissioners. All of them are Republicans. So the decision to deregulate our electricity grid in the first place and not to require additional capacity in emergencies like these, nor to connect to the rest of the national grid so that we can draw down power we need it. These are all decisions made by Greg Abbott, Rick Perry, their predecessors, and other statewide elected Republicans. But I think most Texans right now don't want to deal in blame, but want to make sure that we can get online and prevent this from happening again. So that means investing in weatherizing our power generation and transmission lines. It means having either a mandate or an incentive to provide extra capacity for situations like these. And it means rethinking ERCOT, our electricity grid in Texas, and connecting it to the rest of the country so that we can sell off surplus, which we can drive the profits back into weatherizing the grid, and being able to draw down electricity in the rare emergencies that we have like this one. Last thing, Anderson, you also have state leadership that doesn't believe in climate change, and it's very clear that's what's causing these extreme weather events, whether it's severe droughts in the summer or winter storms, the likes we haven't seen in anyone's lifetime in Texas. These are going to become more common, more intense, and more deadly. And so we've got to take action as a state and energy leader to help lead the country on reducing our dependence on fossil fuels and making sure that those in the front lines of climate change are taken care of.
That's right. And that's exactly what you would have had you elected Beto over Ted. And it was really, really stinking close. But let me show you why. Republicans are a wholly owned subsidiary of the Koch brothers. Okay? This entire group of organizations that the Koch brothers invested in, commonly known as the Tea Party, okay? They are all awash in Koch brothers petrodollars, okay? You got Tea Party Patriots and Americans for Prosperity, Frontiers of Freedom, the Heritage Action Committee, the Heritage Foundation. They all these groups, okay, they sold this hatred and anger and racist, feelings towards Barack Obama in order to organize all these people. But really what they were doing was building a giant brick wall between their oil and gas subsidies, which the oil and gas industry has been receiving these subsidies for 95 years. That's why it's so lucrative. 95 years we've been subsidizing fossil fuel, and fossil fuel is the lead cause of these extreme weather outcomes, okay? And they know this. I mean, everyone knows it. They're not exactly climate change deniers. They're more purchased climate change denier mouthpieces, okay? The millions and millions of dollars that the Koch brothers spend on these groups so that when they need to organize around things like getting rid of a tax credit for green or renewable energy, especially wind, which was the target of the Koch brothers 7 years ago, they developed an entire campaign to break wind, literally. An entire campaign that involved 102 organizations that claimed that the wind industry was getting wind welfare. Swear to God. Wind welfare. And what they were trying to do was preserve the largesse, the huge multi-billion-dollar tax credits and subsidies that they were receiving, the Koch industries were receiving from Congress. So they organized all these groups to run around and just bad talk and trash talk green and Green New Deal and wind energy and solar energy, which we all know works and is much, much cheaper and creates many, many more jobs than the fossil fuel industry does. Okay, we know that. And so when they went to find themselves a guy in Wichita, they found Mike Pompeo. And Mike Pompeo eventually became our Secretary of State. Why? So that he could get us out of the Paris Accords. So that he could get us out of a deal where we voluntarily set our standards. You know, the Paris Climate Accords just doesn't force any country to do any amount of anything. It's all voluntary, okay? So you choose your goal for the next 5 years, and then you try to live up to it. That's all the Paris Accords are. So why were they so eager to get us out of the Paris Accords? Because they didn't want our goal as a country to be freedom from fossil fuels and freedom from climate emergency situations, hurricanes and cold snaps and moisture in the air and sit and spin storms like Harvey, okay, or Maria, right? And they would always blame somebody else. Oh, Puerto Rico is bad because Puerto Rico was always bad. Oh, Texas is bad because Texas just relied on wind energy, which is a lie, and everybody knows it. Americans for Prosperity, they called on Congress. Okay, through these 102 groups that they put together with so much money, millions and millions of dollars from the Koch family foundations, ExxonMobil, American Petroleum Institute, the oil and gas industry, different Arch Coal and Alpha Natural Resources and Chesapeake Energy and Chevron and ConocoPhillips and Valero Energy and even Exelon, which is a nuclear reactor. Okay, the biggest nuclear reactor. They did it all. They did it all so that they could protect the multi-billion-dollar subsidies that they have been receiving for the last 95 freaking years. And they said, instead of them being the welfare queens, I mean, this is one of the most profitable industries ever imagined by anybody in the history of the universe, and they get subsidized. And they're so afraid that the $370 million that was going to wind 7 years ago, $370 million in a tax subsidy. They organized all of these people, all of them, sent money and letters to every Republican member of Congress. Mike Pompeo was responsible for doing it, to get them to vote against a $370 million tax credit for wind. I'm not kidding. Now, I want you to know that there are now 62, well, this is back then, there were 62 companies in Ohio making turbine components, 40 in Michigan and 21 in California. It is the largest new employer of Americans.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
In Texas, you have an example of what happens when a state is governed by those who do not believe in government to begin with. The Republican Party, as you know, Mika, has had absolute control of the state Senate, the state House, the governor, the lieutenant governor, every statewide office for the last 20 years. So the decisions to deregulate ERCOT and to ensure that it's not connected to the national grid, to fail to weatherize our power generators, whether it's coal or gas or nuclear or wind or solar or the transmission lines that carry that energy to us, the inability to ensure that there's excess capacity for emergencies like these to power our homes and businesses and lives. These are all decisions that they made. And now, of course, they're pointing the finger at Congressman Ocasio-Cortez, the Green New Deal, everyone and everything except for themselves, which does not inspire confidence that we're going to get our way out of this or learn from these mistakes.
It's so sad. And it's all because they receive money. It's all about money and the donor class. It's always about that. This situation is about that, too. This situation is about going shopping for Congress members who need money to run every 2 years, paying them, writing the legislation that gives preference to your business in the tax code, no less, in the form of tax credits by calling a emerging industry, and this was a 7-year-old article, okay, that was in, I don't know if it was in Scientific American or in the Concerned Scientists of America's website, but this was explored 7 years ago when it became completely apparent that you had an organized effort to trash talk green energy by the fossil fuel titans. And they were willing to pay every Congress member that would sign on to no tax credits for, exploring new energy sources. It's so sad. I mean, since 1918, that's how long this has been going on. Since 1918, the oil and gas industry has been fed through the federal trough, okay? And maybe back then, why you would subsidize some of the most lucrative businesses we have, it's only because they're able to pay people to get the legislation that pays them passed. But now, I mean, honest to God, they get 7 years ago they were getting $5 billion in tax breaks and subsidies. It's $5 billion a year. So if you're going to spend, $61 million buying yourself, a legislature in Ohio, or you're going to spend $100 million buying yourself a legislature in Washington, or you're going to, choose yourself a candidate in Wichita, Kansas for the low bargain basement price of a couple $100,000, and then support him in front of, the cult of personality President Donald Trump, who knows nothing about energy, nothing at all about how to make America free and independent, had no clue. America's been energy independent since Obama. You know that, right? 2009. You wouldn't know it from looking at Texas. You wouldn't know it from looking at Puerto Rico. You wouldn't know that because this is by design. This is set up to fail. This is not set up to take care of people. This is set up to maximize profits and decrease the amount of legislation that might be directed at people who create, distribute, export, import, pipeline, supply American homes with energy. It's such a game. The whole thing is a deadly game. People die because of these decisions, as you can now see, and the cascading chaos that ensues from everything from climate change being unaddressed in this country, so that you have the, Mother Nature messing with Texas, all the way down to the ground where grids are overwhelmed because they're not incentivized. We have to incentivize them to take care of the ratepayers on the ground, the people who pay their electric bills. We have to actually incentivize them to winterize. We do. We have to pay them to do the right thing as we're paying them for their service on top of it. Only because the system that we have set up to self-govern is so broken. It's so dirty. It's so inundated with the top 1%'s money. And they have so much of it now. Everything we've been doing since Ronald Reagan has created this uber class of 0.1% being able to call the tune. And we all have to dance to it unless we wake up and say, get the money out of these decisions. Or tax these people to the point where they're so busy paying their taxes with their dollars that they can't afford to pay a congressman to pass legislation that favors no progress, because it might have a negative impact on their business and they don't want to innovate their way out of it. Listen, I'm telling you right now, the wind turbine industry is huge, and all this stuff is made here. For all you people that are so scared of the Chi-Coms. This is a domestic industry. This is a domestic industry that literally creates massive amounts of good paying jobs here in America. The turbine equipment, domestic manufacturing of turbine equipment in this country, wind turbine equipment, has tripled, quadrupled. When this article was written, they had produced 13,000 megawatts. A million watts, okay, is a megawatt. They had produced 13 million megawatts of new wind generation capacity 7 years ago when the Koch brothers started saying, I don't want to see this. I don't want you Pompeo, you organize all these people. Dick Armey, I'm going to every lobby shop. We're going to get legislation that defunds the tax credits that are helping them, create these megawatts. No, we're going to go on the warpath against it. Right? And now that 105,000 megawatts of power are generated in this country for this country by wind, just wind alone. I'm not even talking solar or any other alternative energy source. I'm not even talking about hydropower or any other thing. But they went on the warpath, okay? They went on the warpath. Oh no, America is not going to innovate their way out of this. In fact, Pompeo, after he appeared on the scene in 2013, something like this, all of a sudden he's Secretary of State and he's dispatched to get us out of the Paris Accord, which is a voluntary, goal-setting, nothing more, agreement between us and the rest of the world to prevent mass migration, which you people on that side of the aisle seem to be against. I get why Ted Cruz is against Mexican immigration. He needs to make sure there's enough pool boys and towel girls in Cancun to dry his ass off when he, flees the interview. I mean, honestly, it's just so bizarre. He flees to a country he wanted to build a wall around. Was that so Texans couldn't flee to Mexico when he knew his plan was going to implode? I don't know. But I'm telling you, this is one of the biggest growth industries in this country, which is why I care about it, okay? I mean, I guess everybody has to start caring about climate change, especially us here in Florida. I mean, I live in West Palm Beach. Not in Palm Beach. So likely my house will become very valuable when the ocean rises and West inland becomes beachfront. But no, I care about this because this creates good jobs, serious jobs, unbelievable jobs right here in America, domestically produced turbines, everything. And I'm telling you, you have to start to understand that follow the money is not just something out of a 1970s movie covering Richard Nixon. It's a real thing. And all of the GOP are on board with taking this money to stop progress. This shows us every time we have a massive weather event in this country, it shows you that this is the future that Republicans want, because this is the future they buy into. This is the future that they keep perpetuating. And it's all because of money that goes from dirty industries to their coffers. And they're down with that. Down with it.
Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
First it was unemployment lines, then food lines, then vaccine lines. Now it is water lines. In America, the largest economy on earth. Americans resorting to desperate measures just to survive after a brutal freeze leaves Texas crippled. About 13.5 million residents now have to boil their water. That's about half the state. Dallas resident Thomas Black, who took this picture, tells CNN he and his girlfriend are running out of food and they are now boiling snow for water.
Oh.
I only knew to do that because I had a pouring of outreach, giving me tips on, how to weather this out. And without them, as a Texan, we're just not inherently prepared for something like this.
No, as an American, you're not inherently. He's definitely a gamer, don't you think, Brett? Yeah. But honestly, people are, he's a gamer. That's a game chair. He's got his gamer headphones on.
That's it. The headphones, the comfortability of the headphones, the chair, all of it. He screams gamer. Absolutely.
So do I scream gamer?
You don't scream it, but I wouldn't put it.
I don't do it. I don't even know how to do it. You know, the last game I ever played was like Tetris. Do you know what I'm saying? I just left it behind is what I did. I used to be addicted to video games. That's why I just walked away. Like cigarettes. Just walked away. Oh, God. Cigarettes. This is hard. It's been like 2 weeks now. Unbelievable. But I haven't smoked. I haven't smoked a cigarette. Haven't even had a puff. Not a puff. Oh, God.
I can attest. At least not around me.
No, I haven't. I just, I want to be free. I want to be free. I want to go where I want to go. I don't want to be left behind. I mean, it's like being in a freaking, apocalypse movie where you're left behind. You're like the only smoker. And, you're outside in the freezing cold and you're huddled up and you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I suffocating myself in the freezing cold? Trying really hard.
Well, you're 2 weeks, and I think a lot of ex-smokers will tell you you're pulling right up on the time when it stops dominating your thoughts, and you kind of start moving forward. You're there, Randy. You're getting there.
Everybody says 3 weeks. 3 weeks to make a break a habit, I guess, is the philosophy there. But yeah, it's just like, wow, it's unbelievable. So if I'm a little edgy, I noticed I was yelling at a lot of people this week. I just noticed it. I don't know why. I just did. Then I came home from work and Howard said, how are you today? I said, a little edgy, a little snippy. And he actually said, and this is why I'm snippy too. Why? Now I'm ready to rip his head off. But then Ted Cruz came along and I transferred all of my snippiness, all of my anger, that's why I'm saying it's very cathartic to watch Ted Cruz implode on the TV. It's really good for you. It's just, it settles you down. It gives you somebody to, focus all that snippiness on, all of that, pent up hostility. The man is so despised by his own damn friends, okay? His own damn friends dropped a dime. This is like my favorite thing about this whole Ted Cruz story. But here you have his state, literally, they're having to boil dirty snow for water. We're talking 14 million people. Texas has 28 million people in it. It's huge. It's too big to fail. And yet it has, just like the banks, just like everything Republicans support, everything they want to deregulate, everything they want to give all the tax dollars to, everything they want to give all the tax credits to, they all are designed to fail you. All of it. So now you got 14 million people with cracked pipes and frozen wells and offline water treatment plants boiling icicles and dirty snow. And Ted Cruz, I mean, I love the hashtags. They were the best, because Donald Trump dubbed him lying Ted Cruz. So the hashtags were like flying Ted Cruz. My favorite one was fled Cruz. I love that because I love the word flee. But fled Cruz. And there was a can Cruz. I like that because that has a certain like activity to it. Can Cruz. Like get Beto and can Cruz. Do you know what I'm saying? But the really sick part is how he blamed his children. He
Texas is going through horrific storms, and millions of Texans have lost power and lost heat and have been hurt. And our family was among them. We had no heat and no power. And yesterday, my daughters asked if they could take a trip with some friends, and Heidi and I agreed, so I flew down with them last night, dropped them off here, and now I'm headed back to Texas.
Drop them off. That was him in Mexico. That was him at the Cancun airport. So my girls wanted a vacation, okay? So I dropped them off here. You dropped them off in Mexico? And then you were headed back. Everybody saw the size of his baggage. It's huge. It's big. It's big, baby. Small packages, big bags. And I'm guessing that, some people said, well, that's enough clothes for a week. And that, no, he probably brought back, something for Junior to snort or shoot or smoke or something in that bag. No, because he was just there for a day, right? He was dropping them off. By the end of the day, he was saying, okay, it was my kid's fault, but I was going to stay for the weekend.
We lost power for 2 days. Our house was dark. We had no heat. Actually, the fireplace behind me, we were all huddled around the fireplace because it was the only heat in the house. And after a couple of days, after the girls being really cold, it being in the teens and the 20s outside, our girls said, look, school's been canceled for the week. Can we take a trip and go somewhere warm? And Heidi and I, as parents, we said, okay, sure.
We said, okay, sure. Why don't you tell your 10-year-old that there are children that are in shelters, okay, where the ceilings have fallen in, and I have to do something to help them. Would you like to participate? Teach them a little leadership. Teach them a little humanity. Teach them a little compassion. No, like I said, listen, I want a dog that speaks Spanish and, farts sparkles. I want a unicorn that sings to me. Okay? I want a bathing suit that makes me look, like I have a 19-inch waist. There's lots of things we want. You just say no. This is unbelievable. And then again, he finally settled on a story. This is
our girls said, look, school's been canceled for the week. Can we take a trip and go somewhere warm? And Heidi and I, as parents, we said, okay, sure. And so last night I flew down with them to the beach, and then I flew back this afternoon. I had initially planned to stay through the weekend and to work remotely there, but
from the beach.
As I was heading down there, I started to have second thoughts almost immediately because the crisis here in Texas, you need to be here on the ground, and as much as you can do by phone and Zoom, it's not the same as being here. And so I returned this afternoon, and I'm here working to make sure to do everything we can to get the power turned on, but also fundamentally to ask the questions, why did this happen?
It happened because that's the way you set it up to happen. That's exactly how it was set up. It was set up to fail, okay? So you could gouge ratepayers. Oh, this is unbelievable. But I guess they didn't count on having to boil icicles in dirty snow. And here's a really gross thought. Ted Cruz is in Houston. That's where his house is. He left his little shivering dog in the cold, cold house. It's like that ASPCA commercial with the shivering dogs in the winter. I'll Stand By You, the cover version of Chrissy Hines, I'll Stand By You playing in the background. That immediately makes you give $19 a month. It just does. Unless you're Ted Cruz, right? But think of this. Ted Cruz can't bathe, shower, or use his toilet, while Heidi is at the Ritz-Carlton in Cancun. That'll teach him not to defend her. Oh, my God. This is exactly the future they want.
Things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
Austin's water system lost 325 million gallons of water after thousands of pipes burst there. Officials say city reservoirs were drained by the water demand, and they're warning this could go on for days. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services declaring a public health emergency in Texas. But the lack of water means hospitals can provide critical treatments like dialysis. It also causes problems fighting fires. Crews in San Antonio working through the night to put out an apartment building fire that broke out moments after water was shut off to the building.
Hydrants are frozen, so firefighters are trucking water to the scene, and roads are so slick and dangerous. The Red Cross is only providing support virtually.
Oh, my God. Time to go on vacation. I mean, I'm only an elected leader with a public trust placed in me to be there, not just when things are great, but to be there in emergencies so that I can get federal help to the state. But no. And I'll blame my 10-year-old and my 12-year-old. I'm also going to leave my little dog behind. I mean, I want to see like an ASPCA person go pick up Snowflake and get Snowflake out of that freezing house. Ron in Connecticut.
Hi, Randy. Love you so much. Happy Friday.
Thank you very much. Happy Friday.
Yes. So I have. Do you have any idea why everyone on Capitol Hill hates has an instant dislike for Ted Cruz? Because it saves a lot of time.
What?
Why do people form an instant dislike for Ted Cruz? Because it saves so much time.
Oh, you mean after you get to know him, you will hate him, so you just might as well just get to the point.
Yeah, it's going to happen eventually, yeah.
People do hate him. I mean, I've heard people say things like Ted Cruz went and got himself a human suit, like he's... Yeah, I've heard such horrible things about him from Republicans. They just despise him. They say he is...
I can't wait until SNL.
Oh, my God. They all hate him. They say he's a self-promoter, he's a liar... he'll do whatever it takes, including Brett and I talk about this all the time. Every time his name comes up, we go, I hope Heidi never, ever lets him forget how he let Donald Trump trash her looks. The way she looks was and he didn't even defend her. You know, and it was like, well, if Trump likes me and, maybe I'll get to be attorney general or whatever. It was he's such a self-centered, I mean, he's just like, a narcissist. He's one of those. He's one of those people.
And he was willing to, call this election illegally for his boy.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we started the show. When you're all exhausted from your insurrection, right? And and your state goes belly up, right? And people are melting, icicles and dirty snow to flush their toilets. Go to Cancun.
No moral core whatsoever, really.
No, and that's the problem. They've been preaching for years and years that they are the party of principle and that they love people. They're the people lovers, right? The liberals don't. We don't love people. They're so phony and so fraudulent in that claim, just that alone. That it ought to really put people off of their breakfast. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how they managed to sell this to people over and over and over and over again. Renee in Oregon. May I help you? How may I direct your call? And you're live on the air. Eileen in Pennsylvania.
Yes, I just wanted to call and congratulate you for quitting because I'm a vascular specialist, so all my good customers smoke cigarettes. So I'm really proud of you.
What are you?
I'm very proud of you. I'm a vascular specialist. So
vascular.
Arteries and veins.
Arteries and veins. Ooh, thrombosis and all those delicious things. Yes. So let me okay, so you want to know what's playing in my head? You want to know how this goes? You want to know?
What's that?
Okay, so now I'm sitting here thinking, but I smoked for so many years that I probably already damaged whatever. And so now that I'm going to quit, I could still die from it. So why am I quitting? This is the ridiculous thing that goes on in your head.
It's true. However, there's lots of studies and they show your aorta immediately starts to heal as soon as you quit. There's immediate results. It's just like somebody in their 90s. They can exercise and they start getting results. Never too late, honey. And we all love you so much. So that's why I had to call and say I'm so proud of you because I know how hard it is to quit.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And we all adore you. Your adoring public is rooting you on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend, sweetie.
You too. Thank you so much. Thank you. I needed those words. Yeah, because, I mean, the games that your mind plays when you are an addict, you're right, is it's incredible. It's unbelievable. And you tell yourself these really dumb things to give yourself permission to suffocate yourself, which is basically what smoking is. And, there isn't one smoker that doesn't want to be a non-smoker. Because we all know this. Everybody knows this. But, oh, man, this is just it sucks. Renee.
Hello.
Yes. Thank you for bringing our show to a screeching halt.
Are you there now?
Could you please turn down whatever you're listening to?
Got it.
Thank you. Proceed.
Okay, this is the deal. Texas intentionally opted out of federal regulations, right? And that's part of the reason we think why they're in such a mess. So how come they're crying now for the federal government to come in and bail them out with FEMA money and our taxpayer money? And I'm not saying we shouldn't bail out those people. That's not the deal. The deal is, shouldn't we, like, tax them or make them pay it back or make them do regulations?
That's what Trump does. That's exactly the argument Trump would make. He would stand there on the state, especially if it was a blue state, okay? He would stand, just like he did with Puerto Rico. Well, they were such a mess before. I don't see why we have to send our taxpayer dollars to them when they were so mismanaged. That's what he said about Puerto Rico.
Oh, well, I don't want to do that, but it just seems unfair to us that Texas trashes us all the time, and then now all of a sudden we're bailing them out.
Well, think about bailing out the 49% that voted for Beto over Ted Cruz. I mean, just under Ted Cruz.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't want to sound like Donald Trump. That's for sure.
Well, that's Donald Trump's argument. That would have been It was Donald Trump's argument with Puerto Rico. It was. Oh, they were such a mess anyway. And then he went down there and threw paper towels at him. And, like they should be happy that he even came, that he even showed up at all. No. What you have to focus on is maybe Texas, who was really on the brink. It's a purple state now. They were really, really on the brink of voting for Beto O'Rourke instead of Ted Cruz. And it was less than 1 percentage point difference. So maybe this was enough for them. Maybe this was the turning point. Maybe they get what's going on now.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844.
Whether the decision to go was tone deaf, look, it was obviously a mistake, and in hindsight, I wouldn't have done it. I was trying to be a dad, and all of us have made decisions. When you've got two girls who've been cold for two days and haven't had heater power, and they're saying, hey, look, we don't have school. Why don't we go? Let's get out of here.
You don't know how to tell them I'm the senator for this state, and there are people that are in need of federal help, and it's my job to get it. So why don't you and your mom go? I have to stay here, and also have to take care of Snowflake, the dog. Isn't it something that a Republican has a dog that's named Snowflake, and they love to call people like me Snowflake? They are snowflakes. They just can't handle any adverse conditions. Just, their comfort and their, desire to be comfortable. It surpasses all obligations, all compassion, all empathy, and all leadership. It's trumped by wanting to be comfortable. He did not have to go. He could have. I mean, why did he have to go? It makes no sense. Catherine in Baltimore.
Yes. Hi, Randi. I was just saying, it's been reported that Ted Cruz had a member of his Secret Service detail, which is taxpayer funded, to take care of Snowflake while he was in Cancun.
Why does Ted Cruz have Secret Service detail?
I don't know, because he's a senator. I don't know, because
he doesn't. He doesn't. No. He may have had a security guard parked in his driveway to protect his house, but not Secret Service.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought I may have read it wrong. It may have been a security guard,
yeah,
but I thought because of his trying to overthrow the election and all that, I thought maybe they assigned him,
I see. No, I don't think so. But that, it would just be the cherry on the cake of this story. I mean, it's disgusting. Yeah. Everybody's like, well, he's a dad. So send your kids someplace, but you stay because you're an elected senator. You represent 28 million freezing, thirsty, hungry people.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
It's a dereliction of duty. That is what they do. It's what Donald Trump does. It's what Ted Cruz does. And then they vote against holding anybody accountable when the crap hits the fan, right? They just
exactly
right.
They just go on Fox News and whatever, like they're celebrities, and they just do their shtick, and they don't do anything for their constituents.
No, they point at something that they know other people don't like too, and they say that's what's to blame. Those over there, it's AOC. She's to blame.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
they raised $100,000, wasn't it? She raised for the people of Texas.
Yeah, all that's missing is Hillary Clinton and Comet Ping Pong and Pizza. Blame them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They're so low in that. They preach all of this self-reliance and personal responsibility and accountability for your actions, and they never, ever take any personal responsibility. They are never accountable to their constituents. They never do anything for their constituents. They never show up in the district. They never have town halls. They don't like the people. They despise them. I mean, I remember when Donald Trump first noticed who his supporters were, he went, "These are my people. These are them." And even when the insurrection was happening, there was reports that he was watching it on TV, and while he was loving the violence, he was saying they don't look classy. He was literally right. He was literally commenting on how low class his supporters looked.
Yeah,
that's who they are. And when they show you over and over and over again that self-reliance and personal responsibility and accountability is for you, not for them, believe them. Their comfort and their gravy train, their payday is much more important to them than you or your interests, needs, hopes, and dreams, and your children. You know, there were women. This was a really sick part of the story. You know the story. People were burning their furniture. They were hunting for wood pallets at supermarkets to burn. They were hunting for water. They found a spigot in a park in Houston. That's the video they keep running on the B-roll, showing you that there was a spigot in a park and everybody lined up because now you got to line up for water. Before this, okay, you had to line up for food, right? Now the food pantries don't have any food. So now you got to line up for water and just get along on water now if you can find any, right? But really what's so sad is traumatized people who are already in shelters, like the women, the violence, domestic violence shelters in Texas. Yeah, they're loaded with women and children, and the ceilings fell in on 3 of them that I was reading about, at least 3 that I read, different ones, 3 different ones. The ceilings fell in, and ice cold water poured down on these women and their children. And they didn't know what to do. They were like trying to sweep the water out and wrapping the children and blah, blah, blah. And finally they had to flee. These are people that have been traumatized in their own homes to make them leave and take their children to a shelter for their own protection. And now the ceiling falls in on top of the trauma of being in an abusive household to protect their children, right? And Ted Cruz is in Cancun with absolutely no awareness of anything he should be doing as their representative, as their state senator for 28 million constituents. And listen, I'm going to tell you something. This is politics 101. Really, this is entry-level politics that I'm going to tell you right now. When there's a natural disaster, that is your time to shine. That is your time to show up for your constituents and announce that you're bringing water or sandwiches or peanut butter and jelly or anything. That is your time to weather the storm with your constituents, and no head shall be higher than anybody that's suffering, right? No, Ted Cruz's no head shall be higher than mine, not even my wife. And I'm blaming my 10 and 12-year-old, okay? I'm doing that. That's who he is. That's what he showed you. He doesn't feel any obligation to do constituent services. He doesn't feel any obligation to suffer along with the people who are suffering, to throw in with them, which is basic politics, retail politics. Now, everybody knows he doesn't show up in Texas, okay? He doesn't do town halls. He doesn't, rally his people. He doesn't do anything. But this would have been the time in a natural disaster for him to shine. No, because it's not about you. It's about his comfort. That's why he went with his family. Could have sent them right over the border. They could have gone to Arkansas. There's plenty of power in Arkansas because they're on an interstate grid, right? No. These people are never responsible. They are never accountable. They make excuses for everything, including violent overthrow of the government. That's Ted Cruz.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Remember Sylvia from yesterday? She actually pulled at the heartstrings of some compassionate person that was viewing her with her 3 diabetic children and her 4th son who is autistic, shivering in the freaking cold and crying, and had a Diamond Club membership to a hotel and used his privilege to get her a hotel room. And she called Don Lemon last night to thank them for airing her story.
First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody. We've just had an overwhelming response from all over the world. All your viewers. We had a viewer, Mr. Raymond Boyd, reached out, and he was able to use his Diamond membership and pull some strings, and he got us into a hotel. The light has not been back on at the house. It came on for 3 minutes, and then it powered back down. But there's a smile on our face tonight because we're sleeping warm. And we just want to say thank you to everybody who's reached out to us. We've had, I can't even tell you, we've had from Canada to Virgin Islands to California, New York, everywhere.
Well, look, I'm so happy. I'm really relieved that you and your family, and I didn't know how to react last night because I'm sitting here talking to you, and as people at home, I want to do something. I don't know what to do, but I'm glad that just through this platform that I'm sharing, that people got to hear your story and you got to safety in a hotel. But last night must have been incredibly difficult.
It was horrible. It was horrible. We went to bed. I went to bed in tears. It was we just didn't know where we stood and what the next day held for us. But we woke up in the morning and we woke up to a knock at the door and somebody delivered Chick-fil-A breakfast to us. It's crazy because there's people from all over the world and all over the U.S., outside of Texas and inside, that are reaching out to us and helping us. And then it's really a bummer when you see your own senator, you see Ted Cruz. And I saw him in an interview and he said, "I was just trying to be a good dad." But, in this moment, it felt like our dad ditched us and left us to fight on our own.
I like Sylvia. I like her a lot. Renee in Missouri.
Hi, Randy. First-time caller.
Ooh.
I'm a girl.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a clean, dirty joke.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You are in a situation, you're headed to the restroom, and on your way, you see Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz. What do? You hold it.
You forgot the on fire part. You did.
Oh, they're on fire, right. I forgot the on fire part. They're on fire.
No, I wasn't going to put the joke on, and she made me laugh. She told it so well. I said, "You got it. You're on hold."
All right.
And then
you got to tell it again because I don't even get it.
Okay, so I'm going to tell it again.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're headed to the restroom.
Yeah.
You see Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz on fire. What do? You hold it.
I hold it? Okay.
If you saw two people, you got it. Think about it. If you saw somebody on fire, and some people, you wouldn't help them even if they were on fire and you could on them.
Okay. All right. Have a good weekend. Thank you for calling me.
Have a good weekend.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Last time, Randy. That's on me. That one is on me.
That is so on you. There's like a million jokes like that. And that is not one of them. Donna in Maryland.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
This is your travel agent here.
Oh, hi.
So listen, I wish I was his travel agent. 'Cause I would have canceled his flight home.
Did you see? He was on business standby. Did you see that?
He couldn't get on business. Yeah, he was staying at the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
All of us travel agents were talking about how he's not going to get one room. He's going to get 2 rooms. Do you know how much a Ritz-Carlton in Cancun? It's the top of the line hotel in Cancun.
It was $309 a night.
A night. He's not getting one room, though. You know that. So he's spending at least $600 a night.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is so out of touch. It's ridiculous. But I wish I had canceled. I wish I had booked it.
I just do not
collected
understand.
the commission and then canceled his flight home.
His flight home. No, I just don't even understand why he went. Okay, he wants to get his daughters to comfort. He wants to get his wife to fine. Why did you have to leave too, and then lie about it?
Here's another thing I would have done. I would have said I booked him, and then I would have booked his flights and not booked his hotel.
That's a horrible thing. That's horrible.
I know. I know. I'm a good travel agent. Don't get me wrong. I take care of all my clients.
No, I get it. I get it. That is like the most horrible thing. Is like you travel and you're really tired, right? And then
you get there.
And you get there and there's no reservation. There's no hotel. There's no room at the inn. I mean, it's very it's very Bedouin.
It's a gorgeous hotel, by the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's better than Ritz-Carlton? Four Seasons? I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, but I know how much it was because Heidi was in her neighborhood group text telling them that the Ritz-Carlton was down to $309 a night. That's how I know how much it was. And I love knowing that their own neighbor in the group text that Ted Cruz is so despised by his own friends that one of them turned the texts over to the New York Times. That is my favorite part of this whole thing. That and maybe Ted Cruz is finished in Texas. Michael in California.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
I love you.
Thank you.
Randy, I haven't known about him for very long, but it's amazing how much Josh Hawley reminds me of Ted Cruz.
Yes.
It's like they're Siamese douchebags.
Yes.
It just drives,
there's a whole bunch of them.
Does.
There is a whole bunch of them. It's Hawley and Cruz, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham. These are the douchiest of the douches. I mean, they are just disgusting. Really heinous people who would encourage a violent overthrow of their government and then go on vacation in the middle of a natural disaster. Wow. I mean, the word I want to use.
And I want to smack him in the head for just the blunder. That Josh Hawley with that fist in the air.
And they're all Ivy League elitists that literally rail on Ivy League elitists. I mean, their self-loathing is right in front of your freaking face.
Yeah, I was going to mention it, but I didn't want to disparage the Ivy League. But that's it. Does Ted Cruz come from money too, or he probably has a lot of money right now? But
I think his father was a working guy. I don't think he comes from money.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
but you know what?
Got plenty now.
Looks like he's worth about $4 million right now.
$4 million?
Yeah.
Remember what?
Puts him in the club.
Remember when Trump actually attacked his father and said his father killed Kennedy? And now he kisses Trump's butt and actually encourages a violent insurrection on behalf of the man who insulted his wife's looks and said his father was a killer. Wow.
Yeah. And both of them want to be president.
Oh yeah.
So there'll be a dog fight between those two from now till then. So
well, you know what?
Comes out on top.
Best of luck to you, because I think he's finished in Texas. I don't think he could even win in Texas. A Senate seat again. I mean, he's not up till 2024. So I guess he's hoping that people will forget about this. But I don't know how you forget about this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's bad. William in Louisiana.
Oh, good morning. Thank you, Randy. I just wanted to say, those Republicans, they're just evil people. Even you see, like Cassidy, you see Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney wants to run for president. You could see that coming a mile off. The only reason, they're not trying to protect their colleagues in the House. They for the terrorists. They are enabling the Tea Party terrorists. One of those Tea Party terrorists blew up a movie theater in Lafayette because he couldn't win an election in Alabama or Louisiana.
Who's that?
And listen, your Cassidy's ass. You see Cassidy? I've been picketing him for a long time. When I go to Mental Health Day, hey, ho ho, Cassidy has got to go.
Well, at least he voted to convict Trump. At least he did that.
I know, but that's just a show, pony. That ass. You see him. He just put on a little show right now.
He looks like Bill Hader. I hope Saturday Night Live gets the obvious that Senator Cassidy from Louisiana looks exactly like Bill Hader. Look up Bill Hader and look up Senator Cassidy, Bill Cassidy from Louisiana. Anyway, have a great weekend, you guys. I'm so sorry, Texas. I am so sorry. I think it's going to be warm next week. You'll be back in your shirt sleeves, but probably without food and water.